Okay, everybody, thanks for checking out episode 3 of what we tentatively are calling the Freedom Bowl podcast. You got Pat Leo here, that's me, and you got Ox with me. Jack is presently indisposed, so he will be back with us on our next episode. And today we're going to start with a quote from Ox. Ox, what you got for us?
Thanks. It's a quote that goes back to just prior to when I started clinical rotations. I was talking with...
And you are a...
Oh, I'm a PA.
Which is a...
we practice medicine.
Awesome.
Back when I was getting ready for clinical rotations, one of my mentors and a guy I kind of looked to in the PA community is nationally known. His name's John Belinsky. I asked him for a mantra, like something that is a real concise, saying or expression. I asked him for a mantra, like, give me a mantra. And he said, improve yourself by 1% per week. Again, improve yourself by 1% per week. And his point was, or at least my interpretation of it was, if you make a small improvement over a week in using the medical example, and let's say I improve my knowledge of medications by 1% per week, you can't really, I don't know that you can really quantify that, but the idea is just a little bit, just a little improvement over a week. Multiplied by, 50 plus weeks in a year, that's going to be a big improvement. So just little improvements each week, and over time they will add up to big improvement. And that actually reminds me of a quote. I don't know who said this originally, but the quote is, little by little, a little becomes a lot. So that's sort of the mantra, improve yourself by 1% per week. And that could apply to your relationships. That could apply to your health. That could apply to your job. It can apply in so many different areas. Just make a little improvement each week.
I like this mantra idea. So you started with, I think we freaking text each other every other day at least, with always wake up happy.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So we have our mastermind group, which is a group dedicated to not only making yourself better, but checking on your good buddies and making sure that even if your goals are different, you help each other, you collaborate, and you help each other achieve goals. So we'll text each other every morning and we'll go, hey, always wake up happy, which sometimes really fucking helps, to be honest.
It makes me laugh whenever I see you, because I didn't think that would stick with you guys.
I'll vary that as I go. Like I'll change the wording up a little bit, which also brings me to another point. There are a lot of very similar mantras to that. Survival podcast that we listen to a lot. They say they have a 13 skills program where you learn 13 skills. What is it? A year? Was that the plan?
I think it was like 13 because the year was 2013,
and it was about a little more than one skill a month.
Yeah,
so one
something
every
like that.
3.5 weeks or something. There's that same podcast. They talk about financial knowledge. So host Jack Spirko, who we met, we were at his house for the spring workshop, fall workshop,
both.
Where he says, okay, you want to increase your financial knowledge, do something. This is in the same line of 13 skills. He says, every day, you don't have to spend an hour, less than 10 minutes, if you want to expand one of your survival or self-empowerment, or you want to uplift yourself, kind of. You want to expand that, and if you think finances are going to help that, which they should, improve your financial knowledge by every fucking day, on your lunch break or at home or before you go to bed or when you wake up, when you're laying in bed texting or whatever. You go on YouTube and you take a long list of financial vocabulary words and you go, Google, what is a return on investment? Send. You spend less than 10 minutes and you go, okay, I got kind of an idea. I'm not an expert, but that's fine. Moving on. The next day you go, what is compounding interest? Next. What is interest? Next. And you go down the list. So that's not necessarily a quote, but it's a pattern for
knowledge base.
It's a pattern for improving yourself.
Yeah.
I have one that we used today, yesterday, whatever you want to call it. I call it, one of my martial arts teachers called it encapsulate methodica. I don't know if it's fucking Latin. It sounds like it. But we were learning some Filipino martial arts. And his theory was, okay, you take one basic skill, like a right-hand punch, and then you vary it as many ways as you can, and then you stack those variations as many ways as you can. So for lockpicking, what we did today was, there's a drill that we ran through a good chunk of it, but not all of it, obviously, because it can probably go on forever. You take one handcuff, and then you do one technique. So you take a bobby pin, you bend it to the right depth, you put it in the keyway where the handcuff key would go, and you open the handcuff key with a bobby pin. Well, the first step is you just hold the handcuff in your hand with one hand, and your second hand takes the bobby pin, and you just put the tool in and open it. So that's one technique. Now you're going to bend that and add that as much as you can. So you take it, you put the handcuff on one wrist only, so the other half of the handcuff is just dangling. Take that same tool and pick it open. Then you spin the handcuff around the other side of your wrist, and you do the same thing. Then you can change both the keyway of the handcuff facing up towards your elbow or facing down towards your fingers. So this is the concept of encapsulate methodica. You take one variation, and then you add variations onto it within the same theme. And then you do all those things again blindfolded, and you do all those things again from, instead of using your right hand to pick your left handcuff off, you use your left hand to pick your right handcuff off. Then you put both hands in, and you repeat all those variations all over again. So it's just adding and stacking different variations, which is similar to improve yourself 1% daily, or weekly, or whatever you want to do.
Both.
Yeah.
All the
above, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and do that ourselves, I think. We're going to try and pump out an episode a week for you, at least.
Yeah, a minimum.
One of the things I do to improve myself 1% a week, I am over politics. I'm over it. I don't fucking care. It could be a fucking circus for all I care. I'm not watching.
It has been.
It is a circus. What I do to improve myself about 1% a week is I have a couple people that are kind of my freedom or liberty mentors. And I do, for now, I spend about 40 minutes to work and then 40 minutes home from work a day. So I have some good podcasts that I listen to, and I expand my knowledge for freedom and liberty. I kind of get some perspective. And even if I don't agree with the person, I listen to what they have to say, I weigh it, and then I either keep it or throw it away. Which is this fucking episode might as well be called Mantras. One of, as far as I'm concerned, the best martial artist on the planet, Dan Inosanto. I'm pretty sure has a black belt in every fucking martial art that exists, damn near. He was Bruce Lee's protege. And I am, actually, I don't know if you know this, I am a third-generation Bruce Lee student. So Bruce Lee taught Dan Inosanto. Dan Inosanto is certified my instructor, and my instructor has been teaching me. So Dan Inosanto, obviously Bruce Lee's passed. So Dan Inosanto is the head of the Bruce Lee system now. They call it JKD or Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, yeah.
I used to practice very heavily in that, but I've kind of I haven't turned away from it. I've kind of walked my own path, kind of towards some different arts lately. And Dan Inosanto says, absorb what is useful, discard what is not. And that's great for critical thinking. So you want to watch the news? I think you're fucking wasting your time, but if I'm at the gym or the doctor's office and that's the only thing that's on, don't kill yourself trying to avoid it. But sure, you want to watch it. But as you're learning and you're improving yourself 1% daily, you can see what they have to say and you can critically think about it. So they can give you some bullshit and you can go, okay, what out of this newscast is useful? I think this is going to tie in pretty big here. What's useful here? A plane crashed in Malaysia somewhere. Okay, that probably is true, or some version of the truth. Expert says that it's probably in Russia. Well, what's the expert? Who the fuck is this guy? And what if he's wrong? Is he going to come back on the air and say that he was wrong a year from now? No. Okay. Experts say that the government officials say that. Okay, who's the government official? Because let's be clear, you could be a janitor at the Pentagon. Technically, you're a government official. You can tell the bitches at the bar, you are an agent of the government. The government pays your paycheck, you work in the Pentagon, and you're very important. Okay, so we're watching the news, and we're absorbing what's useful, like, okay, some fucking plane somewhere probably disappeared. And what is not useful, you discard, which is, I'm an expert, and I think that the plane is hijacked and a ghost took it into aliens in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not very useful. So now you're making yourself 1% better. You're absorbing information. You're throwing away information. You're taking in new information. And I make it a point to listen to at least a couple of. I mean, luckily, I have the ability to do it, but I listen to at least an hour or two of podcasts a day. And I listen. I love it. Even if I disagree with the person, I say, well, he's pretty close. I'll buy that for now. If I find some different information, I'll kind of absorb it or throw it away.
Well, even like with that example, like the thing I go to is, okay, there's some big catastrophe in whatever part of the world. I really ask myself, like, is me doing anything? Is that within my sphere of influence? You know, you mentioned the podcast that we listen to, and someone we look to. He always mentions that as well. Is that within my sphere of influence? Can I do anything about it? No. Okay. Well, what can I do something about? Well, I can beef up my, I don't know.
What if it happens here? Can you buy some fucking jugs of water before it happens instead of after?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Like, what's within my sphere of influence? Well, how about my family? How about what am I doing to better myself? How about what am I doing to help out my friends? Oh, we got a mastermind group. Like, what's within my sphere of influence? Why would I need to get my panties in a wad from something that's outside of that sphere of influence? That's kind of what I go to. Like, I don't really watch the news, but like, what's in the news lately?
I don't even know.
We're bad.
Donald Trump, fake news. God, I don't know.
Any like pop stuff? Wow, let me pull up CNN.
I couldn't tell you.
Fox.
I really couldn't tell you.
Let's see what kind of silliness they got.
You know, I used to watch. You ever watch Glenn Beck?
No,
I used to. He was probably one of the steps in my path to freedom. And I thought, he's on mainstream media. He has his own news channel. But he's telling me not to believe him. I'm like, that's novel. Like, he's saying, don't believe me, do your own research. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. What is this guy, a fake? And I thought, oh, that's really cool. So, for a while, my aunt actually introduced me to him, not in person, but his show. And I was like, oh, no shit. So I got home, and I opened my laptop, and I was like, let me watch a few more of his newscasts. And he would say, oh, this guy is doing this. And I'm like, wait. Who's that guy? And I had TiVo, thank God. So I'd pause it. I'd open my laptop, and I'm like, who is this guy? So I read his bio. I go to Wikipedia, which is where I start from. Who is he? Where's he from? Where has he worked before? What's his childhood like? Who's he married to? Oh, he's married to this girl. Who's she? Click. So he was probably one of my first steps, and he had a pretty cool show for a while. I haven't watched it in years, but he was one of my steps towards a little more critical thinking. Lately, it's been a lot of alternative media people that have really helped.
Yeah. Oh, man, big time. Like, my go-to is podcasts, just not for news, but just for information.
So what'd you find? What CNN got wrong?
Okay, oh my God. Let's
do it.
I mean, to me, this is perfect.
Let's see what we got.
This is the headline. Judge, Ivanka Trump must respond in shoe lawsuit.
Does that change the temperature in our pools?
Does the earth stop? You know?
We stop.
Like, who cares? Is this, to self, is this like in my sphere of influence? Do I care? Like, does it affect me? Does it affect my family?
Let me bring another thing in that I'm familiar with too. Shit like this, when I tell people I could not care less, are you ever familiar with, like...
They want you to get fired?
No, yeah. Well, are you familiar with the idea that when two sides of a dichotomy hate each other, if you don't want to be involved, are you familiar with both sides hating you? Like, because that happens in law enforcement when they're like, we better this. No, we better that. When I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Just who gives a shit? They're like, well, would you fucking vote for Hillary? I'm like, I I didn't vote because I don't give a fuck. They're like, well, if you didn't vote, then you probably were going to let her win. I'm like, no, I don't fucking care. So in law enforcement and many other walks of life too, when the idea is presented as a dichotomy, and when I don't want anything to do with it, I'm often the bad guy in everyone's eyes, which sucks. So I'm really happy to grow this movement of critical thinkers and freedom and real liberty, which would be awesome.
Shop can't remove Confederate flag.
Her shop? What, I don't
It
even
just
know what
says
that
shop.
means.
Like, I guess that's I don't know.
They don't have to be good at grammar. They're in the news.
Shop can't remove.
It's the. Oh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer for this.
Yes. Maybe I'll know the answer.
It's a tough one. So, I think you might Google it. So, our Constitution says freedom of the press, right? Freedom of press, a free press. First Amendment, the very first one on the list. I just heard the term. I haven't heard it in a while, but I know I love Benjamin Franklin. He's one cool motherfucker. So when they talk about him and they talk about the printing press, I start to wonder, whoa. Did people that make newspapers, were they always called the press? Or was the printing press, as in the ability to take information on a medium, on a press, and send it to other people, that's free? Or was it people that are major news corporations are free? Do you understand what I'm asking? So is the printing press the press they refer to, or is the news press the press they refer to? And as a second question, when did the news start being called the press? So do we, like arms? Mm-hmm. Everyone has a right to bear arms.
Oh, yeah.
To bear, like, biceps, or to bear machine guns, or to bear... So, like, when did the word change? Because words change. So when did the media start being called the press? Mm-hmm. And does the First Amendment really refer to the printing press and mediums of information, or does it mean news companies? Because I don't think it means news companies. I think it means the ability to share information on any medium that you choose.
Right.
That's
that would be my interpretation of it.
And I didn't realize, it just hit me the other day. I'm like, the freedom of the press. And then I heard the printing press right after it. And I thought, oh shit. I thought, those motherfuckers, they don't press anything.
This might be within, here's another headline. This might be within my sphere of influence. Something I can do about it. The opioid epidemic is so bad that librarians are learning how to treat overdoses.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let me scan this real quick.
They want to give cops, what the fuck's that drug now?
Narcan?
Yeah, Narcan. Yeah. They want to give us that.
Well, okay. I mean, that's probably a good thing, but librarians?
Well, you say that's a good thing. Here's my question. Are they going to start giving EMTs handcuffs and guns?
Well, here's the thing about Narcan. Like, if you roll up on someone that's
unconscious... Here's the thing about guns. If you roll up on a crime...
If you roll up on someone who's unconscious... Let me finish. If you roll up on someone who's unconscious, if you give that person Narcan and it's not, they're unconscious because they overdosed on an opiate, it's not going to harm them. But if they're unconscious because they overdosed on an opiate, it might revive them. So in other words, like if you have diabetes and your blood sugar's out of whack and you laying down and I roll over, I'm like, oh God, this guy overdosed on heroin, and I give you Narcan, it's not going to hurt you. You see what I
see. That's interesting.
But
I'm also not a medic, and my job is not to provide medicine to people. And that's another thing too.
Sir, aren't you protecting?
Well, because
people from dying.
Because it's a quote that you hear often, doesn't mean that
freedom isn't free.
Because it's a quote that you hear often doesn't mean that it's my job.
Right.
Which is interesting. Let's get into that for a second, if you don't mind.
Which
is one of the biggest problems I see in law enforcement today is that we are not enforcing laws. We are being told that we are public servants. We are being told kind of in a roundabout way because of a bumper sticker that we are supposed to protect and serve, which I think we should. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of a subjective term. And we are being used for so many things that are not our job that we are taking away from our job, which is another thing. If you make us learn how to give Narcan, you make us carry Narcan, here's a thing that is so deep in my heart, which is another principle of mine. If you are going to give me a responsibility and or give me a piece of gear to carry in my cruiser or on my body, what other piece of gear and what other responsibility are you going to take away from me before you do that for a one-for-one exchange? Anything?
Why?
Because if the answer is nothing, then at what point am I climbing up this hill? At what point does the hill go down? Or at what point do I just fucking fail to do my job? Okay, you need to carry body armor. Here you go. You need to carry a helmet. Here you go. You need extra mags. Here you go. You need extra paperwork. Here you go. You need a printer. Here you go. Put that in your car. You need extra printer paper. Here you go.
You have a printer in your car?
Yep. You need Narcan. Here you go. You need a shotgun. Put that in there too. You need a radio. Put that one in there. You need a backup radio. Put that one in there. You need extra batteries. Put that one in there. You need a big-ass flashlight. Put that in there. Okay, at what point do I start driving a fucking Hummer instead of a Crown Vic? So my question is, I only have enough room up here. I already don't know how to do my job. There is so much bullshit that, can I do this or not? I don't know. I'm just going to wing it and hope for the best. I don't know.
Really?
There's already so many fucking things that I am required to do and required not to do that we end up winging it. And I'm not alone. Other people just don't say it.
Oh, wow.
We talked about it earlier. You stop someone on a fucking moped. Can you check your license? I don't think so. Okay, let me Google it. Okay, while the guy's drunk on his moped, do I detain him? Is it illegal for me to put him in handcuffs? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Let me look it up. Oh, the system fucking sucks. Oh, I can use my computer, but I also have to have a hard copy of the state statutes in my trunk. That has a weight to it. So you're going to give me Narcan too? Great. What are you taking out of my fucking trunk to give me Narcan? So that's an issue. I'd love to save a life. I've saved lives before. I've had to fucking pump fat motherfuckers CPR to get them to breathe again.
Yeah, and that's great. Could be a whole discussion.
But if my job is to enforce laws, shouldn't my job be at least to enforce laws correctly before I'm worried about other bullshit? So if your job is to provide medicine, should I say, well, legally, hold on, because you gotta have some handcuffs in case. You're going to be like, no, I do medicine. Well, I can't do law enforcement and medicine and direct traffic and write traffic regulation tickets and stop domestics and handle fucking active shooters and fucking be a counterterrorism agent and fucking send emails to the TSA via intel updates. Like, I cannot do everything. Okay. So that's a big problem in law enforcement.
Is the Narcan asking
we don't want it.
Leos to do, is that at the national level or sort of state by state?
I don't know or care.
Oh, okay.
I just know that every single person I've talked to has very strong arguments against it. And probably the strongest argument is like what I just said. It's the uphill climb. The duck never goes downhill. We have so much shit to do and so much shit we're responsible for, and our job is to enforce laws, and providing Narcan. Tell me whether or not that sounds like a law enforcement, an action of enforcing a law.
No.
Not unless you write a law that says cops shall enforce Narcan. So we have so much to do. That's great that you want us to, and there's the other side too. I have never met somebody that accidentally fell onto a heroin needle and got addicted. Ever. So I also don't think that you should be stealing my fucking money to treat your heroin addiction. And I know that probably hits home for you because you have some opinions on that.
Oh, yeah.
I also, listen, maybe you did accidentally get addicted to heroin. Okay, so I show up and I say, I'm not arresting you because in the state of Florida, I can't. If you're under the influence of a drug and you need medical help, I am prohibited from arresting you. And if you're a good Samaritan and you call in someone who's overdosed and I show up to the scene and there's a crime that has been committed, I can't enforce you or the crime you committed either on scene. So there's a Good Samaritan Act where your buddy just overdosed, but you're high and you have drugs on you. Mm-hmm. But you call me, I come show up as a cop, and I go, what happened? You go, he just overdosed. I go, do you got drugs on you? You go, yep. And I go, okay, thanks for calling.
What?
Good luck.
Really?
Have a nice life. You're free to go. I might take your drugs from you as a seizure, but there's no enforcement action as in a law that you go to jail for.
Mm.
So I'm fine with the first time going, maybe you accidentally overdosed on heroin because you accidentally took heroin because you're accidentally addicted. That's fine. Listen, you be an adult, you go get your help. If you don't get your help and you overdose again, it's my daydream is first time free. You don't want help? Great. You won't get it. Bye. Bye, Felicia. Like that would be great for me. Like domestics too. Men that won't leave women or women that won't leave men.
Uh-huh.
I show up and I have to fucking literally get attacked and then try to have a fucking fisticuffs fight with somebody because they can't work like an adult with their partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to take one of them to jail. And as soon as I put them in handcuffs, they love each other again. And I'm the bad guy. And I take one to jail. And then they end up back together again. And they call me again. Well, guess what? Listen, you chose that. You made a direct fucking decision. That's what you wanted. And you knew it was going to happen again. So I also, all these commercials you see, domestic violence is so real. It affects us all. No, yeah, maybe it does, but you fucking asked for it. And I don't mean like you better make a sandwich, you asked for it. I mean like you had a physical incident. Neither of you decided to act like adults or learn from it. You had an incident again, and I had to show up, and then you have an incident again. My job is not to live your life for you. My job is, there's a fucking emergency, and I have to enforce this law. So I do. So on that return visit, I could usually care less. Sorry for getting pumped up.
No. It's clearly not very passionate about this.
Real life behind the scenes issues.
Yeah, it's why we're doing this.
Go ahead. I'm on pause, man. That's all you.
We pause it.
So we got improve yourself by 1% a week.
Mm-hmm.
We got my version of Encapsulate Methodica. We got the 13 Skills website we talked about, financial knowledge, where you Google something or YouTube it every day for 10 minutes or less.
Yeah, and that was just the financial example. I mean, you could, how can I improve my relationship, whether it's with a family member or someone you're married to, a child. How can I improve that by just 1%?
That's awesome.
Job. I've heard people that I look to talk about how can I increase my spirituality, whatever that means for you. How can I increase that per week?
I think we
health.
I think we increased our spirituality a little bit today on top of that fucking
mountain.
mountain.
Man, yeah.
Did you call that a mountain or a hill?
No, that was definitely a mountain.
That was awesome.
We might have to see if we can include some pics.
So today we were in the highest point in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Which, to tie into that example of what Spirit Code does, we were up there, you saw a plant, you said something like, I wish I knew more about that. Well, I mean, he gave the example where, like, maybe you pick one, like you're walking along, you're out hiking or whatever, and you see one plant, you're like, make it a point, be like, okay, I'm going to look that one up. And maybe you look one up per week. And over, 50 plus weeks in a year, you learn 50 plants. That's that incremental learning that he talked about.
That's awesome. I love that.
Man, the heroin.
Yeah. That heroin is fucking ridiculous. You know what's funny I hear about heroin? Every person in the country that I talk to that heroin topic comes up. No matter where they're from in the country, they say, oh, it's the heroin capital of the country. Every one of them says that.
I work in addiction medicine, and so I work in southern Indiana and live in Kentucky. And I think I've heard that Indiana is the meth capital. I think I've heard, and then Kentucky is the heroin capital. But I come here to South Carolina, and here's the meth capital. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
think
it's
they're
a big
all
challenge.
Fucking false claims. But I think that just means that there's a lot of it.
There's
It's not like you go to oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know. It's not like you go to New Mexico and you're like, what the hell was that?
I don't know. But you got your thing on. You just
no, it's in the room.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like you go to New Mexico and you're like, this is the fucking salmon fishing capital of the world. No, they don't say that there because there's not a lot of that going on. Mm-hmm. So for every fucking place in the country to say they think they're the meth or heroin capital of the world,
yeah,
there's probably a lot of it, sure, but that just means it's fucking everywhere.
Yeah, that's. I wouldn't even know where to. That's kind of the area that I work in. Earlier you asked what a PA is. At least I don't know if we were recording at that time or not, but maybe that's a good note to kind of start talking about what I do, and then we can see where that goes. But I'm a PA. What is that? Well, we practice medicine. The profession's been around at least 50 years now. We are trained in an accelerated med school model. So long time ago, around World War II, the way I learned it is we were trying to pump out physicians faster to get them to the war faster. And people sat down, I'm assuming they sat down and thought, well, how can we take the medical model, which is an approximately 4-year model, and kind of squeeze out some of that unnecessary and really tighten it up. And they've come up with a 3-year model. So PA school is based on that accelerated med school model. It's about 3 years. There are some faster programs. But like medical school, we go through the bookwork portion, which they call didactic, and we do clinical rotations. So we go to family medicine, we go to OBGYN, emergency medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, general surgery, have an elective in there, emergency medicine, if I didn't say that. Anyway, we do these clinical rotations where we take what we learned in the book portion and apply it with real patients, giving real prostate exams and real surgeries and really catching babies. So we do, again, the book portion, and then we do clinical rotations portion. And then we take a national certifying exam. And then we get to work, generally. We're not required to do a residency where DOs, MDs, they go on, they do internship, residency, maybe even a fellowship. They really drill down. They're required to. We're not required to. PA profession is not required to. There are sort of residency programs that they're accelerated or shorter scope, shorter version than what the physicians are doing, but they're right there with the physicians. They just got out of med school and doing the same things that interns are doing. There are residencies like Lexington, UK, in Kentucky just started. I think they just started a bunch of them, like emergency medicine, psychiatry, again, residency programs for PAs. So again, backing up, when we graduate, we either get to work, which is probably the most common thing, or we go to residency to kind of beef up our skill set, and then we get to work. We're in all 50 states. We're in every specialty.
And overseas.
The
military.
We are in the warfighter community. In fact, our roots are in the warfighter community.
Quite a bit.
The PA profession started out with Navy corpsmen. So our roots are in the warfighter community. What else?
You said you deal with mental health right now, right?
Yeah, so I kind of very early career. I don't know how I kind of wound up in mental health. I specifically work in addiction medicine. I work in a program that deals with people with addiction. We see people with, we've been talking about heroin. Mm-hmm. So I see patients who have a history of heroin use, whether it's snort or injection. people with real strong stimulants, so whether that's cocaine or methamphetamine, alcohol, just mood-altering substances, let's just say that. So I kind of focus on that. The group that I work with, we take what they call a biopsychosocial approach to it. So bio meaning biological, psycho meaning psychological, and then social. So we take a biopsychosocial approach. The bio is like, how can I pretty up the chemistry for this person that's got this really extensive history of mood-altering substance use? And that's kind of what I do, the medical component. The psycho is the behavioral component. So, how can they behave differently? How can they make changes when they're dealing with cravings or when they're dealing with distress in life? And then the social would be like, what's a person's network, like social network look like? Do they have a home? Do they have food in their belly? And each of those three components, the bio, the psycho, the social, is real important in a treatment program, which is what I'm involved with. I also get out into some general psychiatry, some general mental health. I'm dealing with people with bipolar, anxiety, depression. It's pretty common to see people with ADHD. That's kind of my focus at this point. I think at heart, don't tell anybody, but I think I'm an emergency medicine guy at heart. I love emergency medicine, critical care.
We had to do a couple of call-outs this weekend.
We did.
You were jumping right in there, and I did this classic cop move, which was, there's enough people. I'm just going to ease on back. You guys, this is a medical call. You handle it. But I'm also in what they call a military qualified EMT. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
So
learn about the Jeet Kune Do and the this and the
So there's what we call different military branches have their own EMT schools, or they will send you to an actual EMT school and just pay you your salary while you're there. I went to neither. I went to just a tactical combat casualty care school, T.C.C.C. Now, I get two of those words mixed up. I don't know which is which, but I am pretty good at it. So you're fucking
can't say it, but
I'm meat and potatoes guys. I don't give a fuck if I get the title wrong. At least or you'll know that. You might know this from the movie. What movie is this? I don't know how fast a bullet travels. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life.
I have no idea.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
the guy with the fake hook hands. He's like, the round travels at 1,300 feet per second. He's like, do you know how fast does whatever travel? He's like, I don't know. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man. So I don't know.
Let me go back and visit
the title, but I was a tactical medic for the Coast Guard for a while on my team.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some stuff that most EMTs don't even do. I did some IV sticks on real people. I did a real cricoidotomy on a goat several times.
Was that training, or were you guys just dicking around?
No, it was legitimate training. It was sanctioned. It was paid for. I was on orders.
Or were you making cabrito?
No, it was the course was the goats were euthanized, so I guess they had a medicine in them where they didn't feel any pain and they didn't have any physical reactions. They were just breathing and living.
Okay.
But it was very humane, and they laid the goats on the operating tables, and we didn't mistreat them or paint funny names on them. And one of the instructors, one of the first steps was after all the classroom work, they took the goat's leg and I took a hatchet and they chopped the leg off right at the joint.
Holy shit.
And they said, "Good luck. What are you going to do?" I said, "Oh, well, I have this tourniquet here.
Mm-hmm.
Crank. Stop the bleeding. Check the pulse. Check the breathing. He's good." So we maintained that for a while.
Okay.
And then they just make it further and further. So at one point they said, "You want a challenge?" I said, "Fuck yeah, I do." So they said they took the goat's arm and they extended the arm up away from its body. And they cut open the skin of the armpit. And then they went into the armpit and just nicked the artery a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then closed the arm. They were like, "All right, you're up." So I walked up and I did my assessment. And I see the blood near the arm. So I lift the arm to check it. And fucking goat blood goes all over my face.
Oh, jeez.
Thank God I had the fucking safety glasses on.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, all right, we have a problem. And you know what was fucking really cool about it? Is that they taught me beforehand. They told me what they expected of me. Go figure. They're obviously not military officers. So they told me what they expected of me. They explained the steps. They said, when this happens, do that. I paid attention. So I said, oh, I happen to have all the tools to solve this. So I closed the arm. So I took his arm and put it back across his chest. I got my gauze out with one hand. I ripped the gauze open with one hand. I set the gauze on the patient. I pulled out the tab because it was that S-rolled gauze that you just pull, like kind of like toilet paper, but it doesn't spin. It's just S. It's just zigzag. Yeah. So I get that prepped. I open the arm, and I take that gauze. I shove it in with my hand, and I'm holding some gauze in there. And I go, okay, I feel the pulse, and it's closer to the heart, not farther. So I go, okay, good, boom. There's the artery. I push down with one fucking finger on that artery. Everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
All the problems stopped. I mean, he has torn artery, but other than that, all the bleeding and everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So I go, okay, good. Take my gauze. I pull it with one hand, push it with the other, and hold it. Pull it with one hand, push. Got it all packaged up. Take my field dressing, put it in the armpit, put it in there nice and solid, wrap the dressing around the body, around the arm, around the body, around the arm, secured it, put the arm back where it was, splint the arm with a bandage or a hanging trivet, or what do you call trivet, a bandage, sling. Take the sling to the body, boom. Person saved. So that was my T.C.C.C experience along with some other stuff. So I did some stuff that most EMTs don't do. I did IV sticks in the field pretty often. Sometimes it was because my teammates were drunk after a port call. Sometimes it was because there were people that were literally going to die on a vessel, and I had to take them from one boat to the other, and they didn't have enough power to even climb the railing. So I was like, dude, you're going to sit here for a minute and get some fluids. So I did that. I did the crikes on the goats.
That's wild.
So technically, I didn't go to EMT school. I did less than they do, but the less that I did were sometimes higher rated skill sets. The training was very high speed, and my military branch, they said, hey, go to this school and we will call you an EMT title because you have this school. So that was my experience.
Pretty cool.
So today, all three of us were running around as little medics. That was cool.
We're doing your unconventional entries course, and then get up.
Mm-hmm. Got some call outs
come in, and we'd race out the pull an older lady off a toilet who couldn't get up, and
part of the job. For those of you that think it's glamorous, there is so much that is not in the EMT field, in the cop field. I mean, it's what's the quote for every in the law enforcement world? I'm sure in the EMT and other worlds too. I mean, it is 99% mind-numbingly boring and like just being over it. And 1% of sheer terror.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Almost all the calls we went to today were very nonchalant.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, being critical care of folks, we, I don't know about you, but me, I'm like, when are we going to go to the...
Some sweet old lady today, when we were at the lift assist, the lady that could not get up off of whatever she was on, her friend was at the house, and she said, have you guys been busy today? I said, no, actually, today and last night it was really slow. I said, and that's actually good for everybody. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a classic, what do you call it? That's a doctor, the exciting doctor wishes are that you have exciting calls. But what's good for the doctor and the patients is that no one gets fucking hurt.
Right,
so
right.
That was good that last night we got a slow night. Just here to help.
Get you off the toilet.
Not here to help with Narcan. I do not want to fucking deal with that shit. There's almost a movement against that.
Really?
Why?
What movement?
I don't want to.
The law enforcement?
Yeah. We don't, like I said, we don't need more shit on our plates. And
well, I mean, and it's getting to the point.
Are you going to pay me to be a medic as well? Like, are you going to increase my pay with that increased responsibility? Because the answer is no.
You're supposed to,
want to help people. Great. Where's my stethoscope? Where's my fucking BP cuff? Where's my heart monitor? Where's my ambulance?
You keep talking about it. They may get you to. The thing, I don't work on the front lines in critical care. I see people that are, sort of somewhat stable. But what I'm hearing, like Jack, we're in South Carolina. We're hearing stories about people requiring Narcan like 4+ times.
I'm familiar with that.
I mean, how much Narcan? Even if you do start carrying Narcan, like, I mean, how much can you carry? I mean, you're going to be carrying 5, 6. I mean, it's requiring quite a bit in some cases.
Yeah. On a lot of the calls that I've been on, I very frequently hear the EMTs go, "Yep, hit him again with Narcan. Yep, hit him again with Narcan. Yep, let's do one more." So who pays for that? Is it the guy that doesn't have a job and lives in Section 8 housing and is on welfare and also has enough money for drugs? So I'm able to compartmentalize a lot of that emotionally and, in my brain. But I lose my sympathy very quickly. So I'm paying for you to live. I'm paying for your groceries. I'm paying for your housing. And not because I choose to. It's coming out of my paycheck at the tip of a gun. And then you decide willingly and knowingly as an adult to do heroin. You know the risk of doing heroin. You overdose on heroin. I show up. I can't enforce any laws, which is my only job. EMTs, paramedics show up. They're giving you Narcan that I'm paying for. They save you. And you might not be surprised to hear this, but so many of the people that overdose, this is not their first time.
Mm-hmm. Even people in...
We already talked about that, yes.
Even in people in treatment, at least the therapist, from the therapists that I work with and collaborate with and talk with a lot, I feel like they say in treatment, people relapse like on average 8-ish times or something.
Ooh.
Like that's 8 times.
So with all
but that's in treatment. That's not how
in treatment.
That's like with access to me, like medications and support and social. I mean, that's So
and I also, I don't even really have a problem. I shouldn't be enforcing that law. Period. If you want to do heroin, do it. Just don't expect me to pay for it when you overdose.
Yeah.
Like that's like saying I want to fucking go skydiving, and then if my parachute fails, that's everyone else's job, not mine. Everyone else is required at the point of a fucking gun to pay to put me back together. No. I chose to jump out of that fucking plane. I chose that. And not only that, I crashed last time, and this is my 8th time crashing, and you guys paying for my medical bill. So do I feel bad? No, I really usually don't. So, I mean, that's the truth that you don't hear on TV. You don't hear on CNN. You don't hear when you stop a cop in Starbucks and ask him, "Hey, are there a lot of drugs here?" Because he's being polite, and he's like, "Well, no, not really." But he should be telling you, don't fucking go past 13th Street. Don't go past 12th Street. Don't go past 11th Street. All that shit's fucked up. They got a lot of heroin. Like, no, I don't fucking feel bad. And I don't think it's my job to save you. Because if that's what I wanted to do,
you would have
I'd be an
gone
EMT.
to
I'd be a doctor. I'd be your neighbor. Like, that's not my job.
Well, for whatever it's worth, to not really address the... I think there are a lot of stigmas out there, like, oh, it's just you just choose not to do, heroin anymore, or
I know it's difficult.
Choose not to.
I'm addicted to sugar,
cocaine, caffeine. To not really drill into that.
You know what? We should talk about this a lot more because I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Which part?
The addiction.
Well, where I was going to head is that there are plenty of and again, I'm early career, so I don't know all the amazing tools that are out there, but there are tools available to work with people with addiction, whether it's indicated, whether the medication is blessed and indicated by the FDA for a certain illness or it's used off label. There are tools out there. Like I guess I can talk a little bit about the tools in my toolkit, but so again, I see people with
what was the different topics you said before? You said bio something.
Bio, psycho, social. So bio, the chemistry, biology.
Psycho as in
psycho, the behavioral component. So that's like the therapist, and then the social, like the home.
Okay.
Their social network. Do they have
That's
food in their
I like
belly?
that phrase a lot. Bio, psycho, social is really that could probably overlap.
And in healthcare, I mean, maybe, and I don't really remember anybody emphasizing that. But now that I've worked in mental health for a while and working closely with the therapist, like I wish this biopsychosocial model was used not just in mental health, but just in healthcare in general. Like if you don't have food in your belly, do you think, or a home, like a safe home, do you think any of the stuff that the therapists are doing with you or is going to be effective or are you going to remember to take your medications consistently if you don't have a safe home or if you don't have food in your belly? I mean, it's sort of a three-prong, and each of them seems to be really important. I wish we, at least for me in healthcare, I wish we were emphasize that a whole lot more. It seems to be real important. Or even if, okay, let's take it a different way. If you have your say naltrexone is one of my go-to medications. It's indicated by the FDA for people with opiate dependency or alcohol dependency. So say a person's got their naltrexone. Say they've got they've got the home, they've got the food in the belly, they've got a pretty good social network. But what if they don't know how to handle the stress of daily life? What if they're not given those tools from the therapist to, hey, if you're feeling distressed, if you're having challenges with your spouse, whatever, here's how you can work through that distress. And if they don't have those tools, even if they have the medications, even if they have the social network, the job, the home, but they don't know how to cope, then maybe when they get distressed, they're like, and they go use. Mm-hmm. I see that. They forget to take the naltrexone, and then they go get high. Like each of those, the point is each of those components is imperative. Yeah, is important. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the tools that are in my toolkit. Let me maybe not talk about the tools, but what I do, my work is to help people kind of like pretty up their sleep. Usually when they're early in the program, they're not sleeping well.
And is that medicated mostly, or what are your other options?
Yeah, I mean, my general preference, the way I was trained, is to go conservative. Like making sure you're not slamming Red Bulls or running around or whatever right before bed, or
no vodka.
It was the temperature, right? Make sure you're not slamming back vodka.
Don't do 3 vodka cranberries.
Yeah, don't do 3 vodka cranberries. I was trained conservative, and that's sort of my personal stance. What conservative things can I do? If your blood pressure is elevated.
Let's jump this down. I did a lot of research for just the psychological for sleep studies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy named Colonel Dave Grossman.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, he does a lot of combat studies.
I think he was.
He does lecture circuits too. He talks about sleep in his book the book is titled On Combat. Mm-hmm. He has one called On Killing. He's got a couple other ones as well.
Oh, is On Killing, is that the one where he's talking about the type of person that can... Well, anyway,
I've read both. They're very... On Killing is a little bit... It's not as digestible as a book. On Combat is like my fucking Bible for tactical survival. Not as in tactics like how to shoot, but tactics as in your brain and your body surviving.
Mm-hmm.
On Combat by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Fucking 100, I did a review on it on my website. 100% has got to be in your tactical library if you give a shit about surviving a firefight or a deadly confrontation.
You're On Combat?
On Combat, yeah.
Was he an SF?
He
I know I've
was
heard
a
that
colonel, so I already am suspicious of him because he's an officer.
Oh, okay.
But let me be clear. He does make the claim that he has not been in quote-unquote combat or firefights. So thank God he's not at least lying about that.
I thought he was an SF.
He may have been an SF colonel. I'm not sure. He may have been in charge of airborne or something like that. I'm not positive, but I do know that he makes a claim. He says, listen, I was not in gunfights. I was not in combat, but I've talked to a ton of people that have been, and I've taken their information, and I've put it in a format that's easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that is fucking awesome that he at least acknowledges that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another quote we can probably talk about in the future, which is those who can do, and those who can't train. Wow, vodka cranberries really hit me.
Easy for you to say.
Those who can do, those who can't train. I think that's fucking horseshit, and I hate that.
You don't like that?
And I also don't like the phrase that you have to have done to teach, because I'm pretty sure fucking Michael Jordan, one of the greatest sports players in the world's history, I'm pretty sure at one point he had a coach who wasn't Michael Jordan. I'm sure Tiger Woods had people helping him with his golf game that weren't as good as Tiger Woods.
I've heard that, yeah.
So, and especially in this tactical community, here's the thing that you have to at least understand is possible. Is it possible that the person teaching you to shoot has, in fact, been in a gunfight, if he claims that he has? Yes. Does that mean he's a good gunfight teacher? Fuck no. Not on the surface. He might be, but he might not be. And just because you have not been in a gunfight, does that mean you can't help people prepare to be in a gunfight? No, fuck no. If you have good information, you have good information. Mm-hmm. If you can relay that information, then you can relay that information. So I really don't like people that have that hard, fast rule. Does experience help? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Is it required? Nope. So that's my theory.
I mean, that's one of the things that helped really drive a lot of the points that you made home today from the unconventional entries training.
Yeah, I do have case studies where I've done this in the field. It does
driving the point home.
But if I had an assistant with me, and my assistant had a very good technical skill level, and I said, okay, I'm going to teach you guys this course. I'm going to talk about it, but he's going to show you how to do it. Does that mean he's null and void if he's never done it? Well, if he's practiced in practice scenarios, and if he's picked open cars in a garage, is that different than picking open cars in the street? A little bit. So I don't like that quote. But anyways, Colonel Dave Grossman, he does some studies on sleep, or I don't know if he does them, but he has information about sleep studies.
Okay.
So I used to talk to my teammates about sleep, and I would say, hey, we should be getting this much, not that much, and we can survive on this much. We cannot survive on that much. And, we did some talks about it on the team, and I think that would be a great fucking idea for a whole episode of some sleep talk.
On sleep? Yeah, we'll work that in.
Because I definitely need some help with that. I am a fucking hot mess.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm looking at part of it in your cranberry situation here.
Staring at my mason jar.
Said he has a Ranger tab, so maybe he was a Ranger. No.
Yeah, I think he was.
Sleep.
I do remember people criticizing him for saying he's never been in a gunfight. But he claims that that's the truth. So he's not lying about it. He's not like, I secret kind of know about that. He's like, listen, I've never done this. My job is to talk to people that have, take their information and categorize it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I mean, at minimum, he's got to know how to shoot to get a...
You would think that.
What?
Oh, well, okay, Rangers might be different.
Like to get your Ranger tag?
Where I'm from, if you're an officer, that doesn't mean that you even know how to tie your own shoes. So,
okay.
I'm sorry. No offense. It's the truth. That is, dude, if you're asking me the truth, and this is uncensored, and this is full disclosure, where I'm from, even on my high-speed units, because you are an officer, maybe means that you know how to, wipe your ass, does not mean that you know how to tie your shoes, though. You could very well have Velcro hidden underneath those laces. That's the truth. I'm not being a dick. I'm not like, they get more money than me, so I hate them. That's not the case. No. The case is they are completely incompetent. So, that is quite a bit of content for tonight. I am very happy with the way this is going so far.
How can we pretty this up?
We started with improve yourself by 1% a week, and one of the methods we do that by is podcasting. So this might be our first shout out, but if you liked us, go ahead and subscribe for new updates. We plan on doing one a week. Today we did a bunch of quotes. We talked about encapsulate methodica. We'll just do a recap here, which is take one skill set, add a variation to it, add a different variation to it, and then add those two together if you can, and then switch them around. And then add another variation, add those two together, add a different two together, switch them around. Add three together, switch them around. Add a fourth variation, so that's encapsulate methodica. We talked about a couple quotes.
Improve yourself by 1% per week.
Right, that was our first one.
Again,
What's the little by little one?
Yeah, I mean, that was just sort of an extension of the 1%. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. I don't know where that quote comes from. I don't know who said it originally, but it just kind of reminds me of that. Improve yourself by 1% per week, because over a year, that 1% improvement, week by week by week, over a year, is going to add up big time.
I just saw, and then I saw it talked about seeing a meme that said, the future you only gets that way if today and tomorrow and the next day you make improvements.
Yeah.
You can't just wait for it. And then we talked about, what do we got here? One of my instructors / my instructor's instructor, Dan Inosanto, one of the best martial artists in the world, said, absorb what is useful, discard what is not. Well, the first step in that is at least seeing the information. So even if that includes seeing the information from someone that disagrees with you. So especially for fucking conspiracy stuff, or political stuff, or government stuff, or law enforcement stuff, look at the opinions of the people that are different. If they have a valid case, even if they have a partial valid case, absorb that part. And the rest that's bullshit, throw it out. So that's absorb what is useful, discard what is not.
We also, on that note, we also talked about thinking, at least what I do is think about, okay, is this BS that, you hear on the news or you see on Facebook or whatever, is this within my sphere of influence? Can I do anything about it? Do I care? Do I care about Ivanka Trump's shoes or whatever? Like, come on. What I do care about is this guy sitting next to me, or, my dog, or, how can I improve myself or my family, or how can I beef up my side hustle? Like, what's within my sphere of influence? What's within my control?
We talked about what a PA is, what a PA does. We talked about what you do, and you deal with addiction.
We're everywhere, like cockroaches just everywhere.
Talked about addiction, talked about heroin, talked about Narcan, talked about my view on Narcan and my friends, my coworkers' views, which is we don't fucking want it. We got enough shit to deal with already, and we're not medics.
Yeah, I understand. Talked
about the real life behind the scenes of law enforcement, which was some of those views regarding the heroin and some other issues. What's that cool 3-word phrase you just said again, this one?
Oh, the biopsychosocial.
Which could probably cross-apply to a bunch of things in life.
Yeah, really.
And that is just a ton of quotes and a ton of, some good behind-the-scenes info.
Mantras.
And that's our 3rd episode, and I'm fucking really happy with the way this is going. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to down the rest of this cranberry and vodka. I'm going to pee my brains out and go to sleep.
Because he's a trucker, apparently. And I don't know, I speak for myself or everybody, but let us know, like, what are your go-to mantras? Like, what helps you? What are your go-to mantras? What inspires you? I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, let us know.
I know that we are recording this pre-website, So we will be getting our domain here shortly, but for now, you can go immediately to uncensoredtactical.com, or you can shoot me an email direct at uncensoredtactical@gmail.com.
And I dabble, I put out kind of my focus on healthcare, self-improvement, behavior stuff, uplifting.us. That's uplifting us.
So go in there, check out some of his blog posts, and leave a comment. And we very much appreciate you spending some time with us, and thanks for sticking around. These are the early episodes, so hopefully the content was of high quality, and the quality of the production will also increase as we go. And subscribe if you liked it. Check out our personal websites, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks so much.